Hi everyone, this is Professor Smith, and in this series of videos we're going to learn how to calculate and interpret the mean, the median, and the mode. So what is this concept that we call the mean? The mean is really just the representative value of a given data set. Think of it as the average. What you do in your data set is you add up the numbers and you simply divide by the number of numbers. So let me give you a very simple data set. Let's suppose we have a data set where we have 3 data points and the values are 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Okay, so first let's figure out what is the mean of this trivially simple data set. Okay, let's take a look at the recipe. It says add up the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. Okay, so I can see that I have 3 numbers and I have data values of 1, 2, and 3, so all I have to do is add those up. 1 plus 2 plus 3. And divide by the number of numbers. I have 3 numbers, 3 data points. Okay, so the mean in this data set is just 2. Now here's something to understand about why we can say that the mean is representative. If your mean is correct, what you could do is you could replace every single value in that data set by the mean, and if you sum it up, you'll get the same total. For example, the sum of this data set is 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. Now suppose instead I replace the 1 by the 2 by the 2, which is the mean, and the 3 by the 2, and I sum it up, I get 2 plus 4 plus 2 more is 6. Okay, so again, my sum is the same. So that's why we can say that the mean is the representative or the average value. Let's take a look at another example. The mean is not always going to be the nice midpoint like that. So let me give you a slightly different example. So here's a data set with values 1, 2, 3, and now 9. Okay, so we have 4 data points. So let's practice with running the mean. Add up the numbers. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9. And simply divide by the number of data points, or the number of numbers you could say, which is 4. Okay, so in this case, the mean is 3.75. So the mean is not always going to be a number that's actually in the data set. It's kind of like the weighted average representative value. And if I add up 3.75 4 times, I will get the sum 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9. Okay. Now, one issue with the mean will always vary if the values of the data set change. Now, we could argue that that's actually a negative. So for example, let's take a look at this data set. Let's suppose I have a 1, 2, and 3 again, but now I decide to create what we call an outlier. Let's call this 4th data point. Let's give it the value of 90. And let's practice running the mean again. Add up the numbers. Divide by the number of numbers. We still have 4 numbers. Now the mean has jumped all the way to 24. That just teaches us something, that the mean is very sensitive to outliers. High or low values in your data set will really cause the mean to swing. Now, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. It really depends on kind of, do you want a measure of representativeness that is or is not sensitive to those extreme values. Okay, let's practice with one more here. You can also run the mean on a data set with zeros or negative numbers. So let's practice with that. Let's suppose we have a data set with a 7, a -5, a 0, a 3, and a 6. Okay, let's run the mean. Okay, add up the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. Now, if I'm adding a -5, that's the same as subtracting 5, so I could just do that. We know adding 0 is not going to change the numbers. Okay, so be careful here. How many numbers do we have here? 5 data points. So now divide by 5. And now the mean is 2.2. Now let's take a look on the next tab. I have one other application of means. What you often do in a real life data set is you segment the data by some other characteristic. So here's a very simple data set, 5 total data points. I have the height of 5 people, and I also recorded the gender of these 5 people in this data set. Okay, so let's suppose I wanted to know the mean height among men and women. I would simply first observe that I have 1, 2, 3 data points, 3 men. So I want to now run my mean calculation, but only among those 3. So let's see how I would do that. The first data point is a man with a height of 69. The second data point is a man with a height of 72.5. And my fourth data point is also a man. So I want to skip that third data point because that's a female and just go to the male in the fourth row there, add that. How many men in this data set? 3, or males I should say, 3. Okay, so the mean height among the males in this data set is 70.5. Now for women, eyeball the data set. I have a female here in row 3 and a female here in row 5. So my mean is only going to be the average of those 2. Okay, so I'll take my 60.5 inch female, add 65, divide by 2, and you should get 62.75. Okay, so that's a quick overview about what the mean is, what it actually represents, its pitfalls in terms of being sensitive to outliers. Now for the quiz, what I want you guys to do, take a snapshot of this video, run the mean on that data set, and submit the answer on BB. I will see you guys in the next session.